everyone, and welcome to the Lumi Knits podcast. My name's Hayley and I'm coming to you from Central Victoria. It's a beautiful sunny autumn's day here. It's been a long time since I've done a podcast. I've got a lot to tell you, but not a lot at the same time. I had a big break of making over summer. There was just a lot happening in our lives and it was just a really busy time, and I didn't really do much of anything other than making Zadie jumpsuits. I made two over summer and basically lived in them, but I'll talk more about that later on. I'm not going to go through the whole Instagram and Ravelry link thing because I can never remember when people say it. I always look in the links anyway, so if you want to check me out on Instagram or Ravelry, just check the box below and you'll be able to see what my usernames are there. So welcome if you're new and you haven't seen my podcast before. If you have, you know that I am a knitter and a sewist, and I just really love making things and telling you about it. So I'm going to jump straight in. I'm not sure if this will be a long video or not. I've got a huge pile of things right beside me here. My craft room is a massive tip. At the moment it's such a mess, but I thought I really just need to do a podcast and rip the band-aid off a little bit. So I'll get around to tidying it another day. I might start with some things that I've finished. If you've seen my podcast before, you'll know that I did the Shawlography knit along by Stephen West, and I was a bit stuck on the border. I didn't know what to do because I didn't like the stripes and I sort of didn't want to end up with just an I-cord binding. So I went and just trawled all of the finished Shawlography shawls that had alternate bind-offs and things like that on Ravelry. There was a beautiful one that I came across that had sort of like ripples of using short rows, and it reminded me of a bit like a sunset. This is not really sunset colours, but I did a few short rows anyway, so you can see kind of grows in places, so it's kind of a rippled effect. There's no way that I would be able to show you this shawl in one shot on the camera, so you're just going to have to see it in parts. I'm so happy with how it came up. Even before I blocked it, I was still a bit uncertain. I didn't love it, but as soon as I blocked it and it grew a little bit and the stitches settled down, it's a really lovely shawl. If I was going to do it again, which I won't because I've got other things I want to do, but if I was going to do it again, I'd take out the macaroni. I'm not a fan of the macaroni. And originally I didn't really like this section at the bottom because it reminded me a little bit of like a brain, just with all the white bits. I didn't like it, but since I've blocked it, you can see it's come out really nicely. The colours are a lot more visible and I think it's just much prettier than what it was before. And everything else I love about it. I really enjoy doing the brioche section, so that might be something that's in my future. I'm a big fan of the bobble. I love the triangles. I really do like all of it except really for the macaronis here. And that's just mostly because I'm worried about them getting caught on things. But anyway, that's my Shawlography. I can't even remember what yarn I used. I've got the tags around here somewhere and it's all on my Ravelry page if you're interested. But yeah, so that's one finished object, one knitting finished object that I've got for you, and the other one is just a pair of socks. I always have a pair of socks on my needles and it's always a pretty basic sock, and I always have both going at the same time on 9-inch circulars. So this one is not from a pattern. This is just a vanilla sock, and I've used a self-patterning yarn. I think it's by Nature Baby or something like that. I bought this yarn to tip me over the threshold for free postage when I was ordering something else a long time ago. And I don't really like the colours, but this is kind of just going to be a sock that I wear when I'm wearing boots and things like that. So they're probably not going to be all that visible anyway. Obviously I've got one for each foot. I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel. I still get kind of confused by Fish Lips Kiss heel instructions. I think the next pair I do, I'll do a heel flap and gusset just because I'm a bit more confident and I feel like the fit's a bit better on me. But yeah, so that's just my vanilla travel sock. I'm not going to show you any of my finish Zadie jumpsuits because they're hanging up in my wardrobe and they're huge because it's a jumpsuit, obviously. So I'm not going to show it to you, but I did one in a kind of patterned linen, which was sort of has lemons on it. It's really pretty. And then I did it in a sea foam coloured double gauze. And it's really interesting how one pattern can have such a different feel to it depending on the fabric that you use. So the linen one is a lot more structured. It's quite crisp and elegant, and it's got a really nice sort of crisp look. I think crisp is the best descriptor for it. Has a really nice crisp look, whereas the seafoam double gauze is a lot more relaxed and flowy, very casual, but still really nice as well. So I really enjoyed making the Zadie jumpsuits. I've got a good fit. I think I cut a size 14 and added a little bit to the leg because my legs are long, and it's a really enjoyable sew. And I'll probably make another one soon, but I've got a couple of new patterns that I'm going to do instead, and I'll talk about those a bit later on. So I'll move on to my knitting works in progress, and then I will talk about my sewing works in progress. Hopefully it's not too dull for anyone. I'll start with something I'm working on that I'm hoping to finish off within a week. It should be, because it's super. I'm using 2 strands of 8-ply or DK weight yarn held together to make a scarf for my son. This is not a pattern, it's just a 3x3 rib, and I'm doing it on 5.5 needles. And if I was going to be starting this again, which I will not, because I think this is about my 4th go at it, I would have sized up to 6.5 or even 7s, because the fabric is really dense. When you stretch it out, it looks great, and I'm hoping that that's how it blocks out, so it's not completely like crunched up like this. But it's going to be a very warm, very, very warm scarf for my son. And I only have about 50 centimeters done. I like to make it about 1.50 meters, but it's knitting up super fast, and it's very much a TV and knit kind of deal. We're going camping next week, so I hope that it will be done by then. The next thing I was going to show you now, this is a little bit exciting because this is a hat that is basically a swatch for my husband's biannual jumper. Biannual is once every 2 years, I hope, not twice a year. Anyway, biannual, and by biannual I mean he gets one every 2 years. And I chose the pattern of the Dustland sweater by Stephen West. And I really have got a problem with doing gauge swatches. I don't like wasting the yarn, and I don't like creating something that doesn't have a use. So a gauge swatch in the round, as soon as you cut those floats along the back, basically it's useless. I know that I could just like make them really long and then unravel it and use it again, but I don't really like doing that either. So I decided to make a hat for my husband to wear because he does not have any hair. And this might be a nice way to keep his head warm as well as get some idea of my gauge. So I'm knitting this on 5mm needles. I cast on way too many stitches. I did 112, so this is going to be too big, I think, but I also don't think he'll care that much. So the Dustland sweater is a really beautiful textured sweater because all the designers are doing texture at the moment. There's been so many patterns come up that I've just loved, but after knitting Stephen West's Shawlography and Salmon Shawl, I've just really enjoyed the way he writes his patterns. I feel like they're really well written, easy to follow, and so on. And I like the construction of the Dustland sweater, especially with the short rows in garter. I'm not a big fan of garter stitch, but I feel like it looks really effective as well as doing the job. So this is just a beanie that I'm working on for him. I've started the crown decreases, and hopefully it's not too big that he can't wear it, and I get a decent gauge at the end. The next thing that I'll show you, just moving right along, is the travel socks, my next set of travel socks. So this again is just this one's a 2x2 rib, and I'm just going to do them 2x2 ribbing all over with a heel flap and gusset using my 9-inch circulars. I haven't cast on my second one yet, but I have got everything in here that I need in my project bag. This is an Alice in Wonderland themed one, and I absolutely love it. I can't remember where I got it from, but I can put it in the show notes. Yeah, so there's really not much to say about this. It's the very beginnings of a ribbed sock, and again, great just to wear with boots and things like that over winter. I am wearing my Helen Stewart socks. I don't remember what pattern it was, but it was from the Handmade Sock Society. I'm wearing them today, and they're so beautiful and warm and great with boots. And just, yeah, they're really nice for autumn and winter. So moving along again, I'm sorry, this is a bit, I'm still getting into the swing of things. I finally picked up my Tecumseh sweater and started knitting on that. The problem that I had is that I started this probably about 7 kilos ago, and I'm worried that it's going to be too small now. But I put it on some larger needles, and it looks as though it's roughly the same width as my sold up now, so it should be fine because I can still wear that. I'm just about to start my final body colorwork sections, and I absolutely love how this is knitting up. It's a really rustic yarn. This is a Bendigo Woollen Mills rustic yarn. That's what it's actually called, is rustic. Can't remember the colourways, but these colours are similar to the ones that are done in the sample, and it's coming up so beautifully. I've put the sleeves on this plastic tubey stuff, which is great, but I've made it too small to get my arm through to be able to try it on. So I'm just relying on the body measurements more than anything now. What was I going to say? I have modified this heavily because I think I've ranted about this before. The necklines in Caitlin Hunter's patterns do not work for me. I don't like things really high up on my neck, and so the funnel neck issue that seems to crop up with her patterns, I can't even try and block it out or anything like that. It's just too much for me. So I've heavily modified this. I think I started out knitting the largest size, and then I've brought it down to one of the sort of middle sizes. You'll have to check my Ravelry page if you really want to know that kind of detail. Hopefully I've put it in there. And if not, I will at some point because I've written it all down in my notes. So modifications. I've heavily modified the neckline because I don't like things tight. And I also finished, I split for the sleeves after the chart A. This is chart A. Instead of after the second repeat of chart B. I didn't want like that big poncho, I don't know, but I didn't want that really low armpit area. I wanted it just to be normal armpit area. So that is my Tecumseh sweater. I don't have a real timeline to finish this, but as soon as this is off the needles, I am going to start a Shifty sweater because I've got some yarn that my mum gave me and it's the perfect colour for it. And since the re-release of the pattern and the updated gauge and things like that, I would really like to have a try at it. My first attempt was in a 4-ply, so fingering weight yarn, and I couldn't get gauge. It was just an exercise in frustration. So the yarn that I'm going to try it with is a 8-ply DK weight, and I think I'll just modify it as I go because I'm a lot more experienced now and I sort of understand construction and fabric weight and things like that a little bit better than what I used to. So I'm hoping that I'll get a Shifty sweater by the end of this year, but we'll see. We'll get through the Tecumseh first. I think, oh no, there's one more. Now, this one's a bit of a crazy one. This isn't from a pattern. I'm just basing it really loosely on patterns that I've seen for sort of summery tops, and this is the only thing that I knitted on during summer, and I didn't really get that far. This yarn, I think my mum gave it to me as well. I think it's like a linen cotton blend, and it was my grandmother's, and my grandmother's been dead for over 20 years now, and so somehow this yarn found its way to my mum, and my mum's held on to it, and now she's passed it to me. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but it's kind of one of those knobbly, retro-y 80s yarns, and I thought it would make a really nice summer t-shirt. So I've done just a very basic raglan construction. Again, I think I was going for oversized, but I don't know if it will be oversized by the time I'm finished. And I think I only have 2 balls of that left, and they're only about 50-gram balls. So I think I'm going to commit the rest of this ball to the length, and then the final one to just finishing off the sleeves and the neck, because the neck has no finishing whatsoever. It's just a cast on edge. So I think I might do like an I-cord neckline or something like that. And same with the sleeves. But I think this will be a really nice summery top, and even just looking at it reminds me of my grandmother, because it's the kind of thing that she would have worn. So it's a really nice emotional connection to this one. And it doesn't have a name. It's just a summer top, I guess. So that's all my works in progress for knitting. I will talk a little bit about my sewing, because I've purchased quite a few new patterns lately and haven't really done much with them, because I get obsessed with different projects and then they're the only thing I really want to work on, and they just kind of luxuriate on the pattern wall or in an envelope somewhere. I purchased the Clyde pants pattern and the Clyde jumpsuit because I saw the curved pockets and they got me, and I thought, wow, those curved pockets are amazing. And so I was really excited to buy those patterns, and I bought them, and I've cut out the pants, and I've started cutting the fabric for the pants, but it's just going to be a muslin. I don't think I'll actually wear them anywhere, and I'll show you why. Because this is the fabric. It was just clearance fabric, because I'm tired of wrecking good fabric for muslins, and it's got like cheetahs or jaguars or something, and cactuses and flower crowns, and it's really probably not something that I would wear out of the house, but it might be fine for in the garden or just kicking around. We'll see how comfortable it is when they're made. So hopefully next time I talk to you, I've finished that the Clyde pants, and I'm ready to make some adjustments and cut it out using some fabric that I'll actually use. The final thing, and this was one of the things that I saw and got obsessed with. I saw on Liberated's Instagram, Meredith made a quilted vest based on the Hinterland pattern. I'm a fan of the Hinterland pattern as long as I don't have to do buttons. So I thought I would give it a try, because I couldn't stop thinking about her version of it. I don't know if mine's going to come out anywhere near as wearable as hers, but at the moment I'm having a lot of fun with it. So this is what I've got so far. I did some quilting, like I've never quilted before, so this is my version of an attempt at quilting. I like suns and moons and curves and things like that, so that was the design that I chose to go with. The back is plain, and my goal is to quilt the whole thing by hand and then stitch on some bias tape and create like a fastening on the sides. I don't know how this is going to go for size. I feel like it's going to be too big, but again, because of my my 7 kilo weight gain, it may fit well. Who knows? But I'll keep you posted on that. I'm really taken with these colours. You might see we've got a bit of a theme going on here. Never thought of myself as a purple person, but all of a sudden there's purple in my life. So that's exciting, I guess, if you like purple. We'll see what happens. I haven't started quilting this because, as I said before, I've never quilted anything before, and by hand seems a little daunting. I'm just going to grab this from behind me. This is my practice piece. Oh, the other thing too is I didn't have any batting, so I just used some flannelette fabric that I had lying around. So this is my first attempt at hand quilting. I think it came out pretty well, and I'm trying to decide if I should go with this white thicker cotton all over, or if I should go with the gold all over, or if I should just play it by ear. I'm not sure. If you've got any suggestions or hints or preference, if you think the white looks amazing or the gold looks amazing, then please let me know in the comments, because I'm still a bit stuck on that. And the other thing I'm trying to decide is if I'm going to make a scrap bias binding, or if I'm going to use one that I've already got. The one that I've already got is quite narrow. I'm a bit worried that it will be a pain to work with when I'm just about at the end of my quilting, and probably really sick of that project. This is just a little tin that I've got all the quilting gear in, so that's not exciting at all. I think that's all I'm going to talk about for today. I think I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. I hope it wasn't too rambly or fast, because I know that I have a tendency to do both. Next time I'll have something else to show you, and I'll probably not be as nervous and out of practice. So wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm really looking forward to getting out into the sunshine and having a great afternoon. So I'll hopefully check in a month, or maybe in a couple of weeks if things get exciting. Who knows? See ya.